So because Israel is now there's some conservatives that are taking an issue with Israel, the U.S. supporting them, the money going that way, even pushing back on AIPAC. AIPAC has decided to rebrand itself as America First. They have launched a new ad trying to convince Americans that they are there for us. They are there for us, and they are America first. And that's why you should support AIPAC. You have got to see this for yourself to believe it. To me, this ad reeks of desperation.
What about AIPAC?
Today, AIPAC.
On Capitol Hill, AIPAC.
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 You may have heard our name, but how much do you really know about AIPAC? AIPAC is an American organization that works to strengthen the U.S.-Israel relationship.
See what they start with? It's an American organization.
This partnership advances America's interests and democratic values and helps keep Israel safe.
Doesn't tell you how it so-called advances America's interests. They don't tell you what interests that it advances, right? Now, obviously, I told you guys before, I think Israel is just basically a military base that the U.S. is in charge of in the Middle East. And so those interests that they're talking about is to support that greater Israel project. The U.S. government supports that greater Israel project because they want to hold on to the resources. Remember, we talked about the Gaza Strip and all the resources that are along the Gaza Strip. The U.S. does not want those Arab countries to have control over that. That includes Gaza. That includes in Saudi Arabia. I know you'd be trying to play all these different sides because you got 1 foot over in BRICS. You got 1 foot over in the U.S., 1 foot over in all these different types of places. But the reality is the Greater Israel Project doesn't stop with Gaza and the West Bank. The Greater Israel Project includes part of Jordan, part of Lebanon, and also Saudi Arabia. You might want to look out too, because they'll come for you too. Benjamin Netanyahu said they want to go and liberate Africa. They want to go all the way into Africa. How they going to go into Africa if you in the way? So that is what these so-called American interests really are. That's why they don't go forward to tell you what that is. They can talk about democracy. They continue to say that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East, but they don't even tell you that Israel doesn't even have a constitution. Why is the United States supporting this state of Israel that doesn't have a constitution? People need to push that more, and people need to ask that question more. People need to mention this more, that Israel does not have a constitution. But here we go. Here we go.
Helps keep Israel safe. Our 5 million members are U.S. citizens, Democrats and Republicans from every part of the country who urge our elected leaders to enact pro-Israel policies. This includes expanding America's defense partnership with Israel.
See, defense. There you go. There you go. So I think they feel that this ad is going to be a big hit, but for people who are anti-war, this is not going to be a big hit.
Israel policies. This includes expanding America's defense partnership with Israel, supporting life-saving security assistance, confronting Iran and its terror proxies, and promoting peace and normalization.
They said all that, and then they say, and promoting peace and normalization. So they tell you, they keep talking about it as defense, but the reality is Israel is on the offense. Israel is the one that attacks Gaza and Syria and Lebanon and all these other countries. Israel is on the offense, not the defense. But they brand it that way to make you believe that everyone else is attacking Israel. And then something changed after October 7th when people started to see what Israel really was, because of the images that we saw of the children and all the people that were being murdered in Gaza by Israel. That's when more people I noticed, started to wake up. But for years, they have told you, and they brainwashed a lot of people and said that Israel is defending itself. But by law, an occupying nation does not have the right to defend itself. They're talking about this as though this is a chummy thing.
Being pro-Israel is good policy. And AIPAC members make sure it's good politics, too. We raise money to help elect pro-Israel candidates for Congress from both parties. And we take the political fight to our opponents, helping defeat anti-Israel candidates running for the House or Senate.
There it is right there. They tell you we help defeat those that are anti-Israel. They're telling you right to your face, they serve both parties. They're telling you their goal is to elect people that are pro-Israel. This ad to me just furthermore makes the case for third parties and independents.
AIPAC is leading the fight in Washington to secure the future of the U.S.-Israel relationship. The actions of pro-Israel Americans today will help determine the future of this bond and the fate of both countries.
That is the new AIPAC ad. TD says they aren't even hiding it. No, they're not. It's all out in the open there. So I don't know why they thought that this would be better. It's like, I don't know why they thought that this would be better for them. It actually makes them look even worse. But they're trying to brand themselves as America first because of some of the MAGA supporters who have said that, hey, sending all this money and stuff to Israel is not America first, right? So if AIPAC is really there to support American interest, right? If supporting Israel really supports American interests, then let me ask you this question. Why is it that we don't have this? This is right there on the commonwealthfund.org International Health Policy for Israel, for those who want to see. Check this out. Israel provides universal coverage to citizens and permanent residents as part of its national health insurance law. National health insurance. Residents choose from 4 competing nonprofit health plans that provide a mandated benefit package, including hospital, primary, specialty, mental health, and maternity care, as well as prescription drugs and other services. There are no deductibles, but some cost sharing is required for specialist visits and prescription drugs. The compulsory insurance system is funded primarily through a national income tax and an income-related health tax. Most citizens also purchase voluntary health insurance for medications not covered by the benefit package and for faster access and greater provider choice. Almost all governmental health functions are organized by the Ministry of Health, which has regional and district offices. One of the first things I noticed here is they have no deductibles. Raise your hand if you're in the chat and you have a health insurance plan that has deductibles. And what that means, at least for me, is that the insurance company is not going to pay anything until I've reached that deductible. A deductible can be from $500 to $5,000. They don't have one. So they have something we don't have. They have universal health care. We don't have that. How is this supporting our interests? This is what I want everyone to ask themselves. Whether you supported universal health care or not, why are we supporting Israel and they have things that we don't have? Everybody in this country don't have health care. Everyone in this country don't have housing. Everyone in this country can't even afford to go to college. You know, the public colleges in Israel, I think the most you pay is $3,000. We have community colleges here in this country that cost more than that. So no, they have something we don't have. Meanwhile, you're sitting up there saying, oh man, I got to get this procedure done, but the insurance company isn't going to pay anything because I have to hit that $5,000 deductible. They don't have to worry about that. These are the kind of things that I want everyone to pay attention to. Why do they get universal health care, but we don't? And then we're giving them more on top of that. We're giving them more money. We give them weapons. We don't even take care of people here. So when people say, they're like, well, you know, that's socialist or whatever, say that about Israel, because they don't need our help. If you guys are able to use, if they are able to use taxpayer money to have universal healthcare system, they have a defense system that pretty much protects them more than anybody else. They don't need us. There is no reason why we should be giving Israel any support, any aid. We need to help people right here. Period. But this is the other reason why they are rebranding. Here it is, folks. Glenn Beck had an event recently, and these are young conservatives. And listen to the questions that they are asking Glenn Beck.
Israel has an overwhelming lobby over the United States government, and we have unconditionally supported them. We have fought their wars in the Middle East. Bibi Netanyahu came to our Congress in the 90s, told us a list of countries that we need to take out. Some were Syria, Iraq, Iran, Libya, etc. Through those wars, we have lost trillions of dollars. We have lost American servicemen.
We're lobbying everybody else, and they will.
No one's clapping. No one's clapping. Charlie was starting to notice about the Israel lobby.
Could I answer my question? Could I answer the question, please?
You're talking about one thing they don't teach in school? They don't teach about the USS Liberty, where Israel literally came, blew up an American ship because they want us to get in their war with Egypt, and they don't teach that in school. I mean, I'm just saying.
Okay.
Everybody see what's happening? So you see, this is why Aipac is rebranding, and they are describing themselves as America first. These young kids are not stupid.
Thank you. Thank you for your question.
I have a question. Why is there this societal taboo around criticisms of Israel? For example, AIPAC doesn't have to register as a foreign lobby, but like the Australia lobby does. And it just
that should be changed. That should be corrected. Look, I am not going to say Israel should have any special privileges. None.
Israel has a
So does everybody see? So the young kids, the youth, the younger conservatives, especially, it seems like many of those that did follow Charlie Kirk, they're waking up to a lot of things. So people got to pay attention. New York Varsity said you called it the kids are all right. Yeah. But hey, they didn't hear this from me. Let's be real. They didn't hear this from me. You know who they heard it from? They heard it from other conservative influencers that started to ask questions. That's who they heard it from. They heard it from Tucker Carlson. They heard it from Charlie Kirk. They heard it from Candace Owens. And that is the key. When other conservatives then start to push back. Because I say those things, but you know, a lot of times, like if they don't follow the same political ideology I do, they'll say, oh, well, she's too far left. I'm not going to listen to what she says. It's more convincing when it's someone coming from their own party that is starting to ask those questions. So yeah, the kids are all right. And the numbers also don't lie. Check this out. Yvette Carnell shared this. America's overall view of Israel military action. This was in July. Do you approve or disapprove of the military action Israel has taken in Gaza? 60% here disapprove, 32% approve. See these polls, the same way I look at these polls, AIPAC sees these polls. Benjamin Netanyahu sees these polls. Don't you guys remember not too long after the genocide started under the Biden administration, don't you guys remember when Biden said he gave a warning to Benjamin Netanyahu that Israel was starting to lose support? This has happened before. It happened under the Ronald Reagan administration, where Ronald Reagan contacted Israel and said, stop bombing Lebanon. Israel's losing support. You see, they've been down this rodeo before. They know what's up. And then there's this poll that just came out. I'm surprised they showed this on CNN You guys have got to see this.
Yeah, this war caused a historic shift in public opinion on how Americans view the Middle East conflict. What are we talking about here? Who voters sympathize more with, the Israelis or the Palestinians? Back in October of 2023, it was the Israelis by 48 points. Look at this shift. Now we're talking about the Palestinians by a point. I looked back at every single poll that I could possibly find since this question was first asked in the 1980s. This is the first time ever in which the Palestinians had any sort of lead on this particular question. It is very clear that this war caused a historic shift away from the Israeli position in the Middle East conflict and towards the Palestinians when it comes to who Americans and voters sympathize with. This, of course, was led by Democrats, because what are we talking about? We went from Democrats favoring the Israelis by 26 points to the Palestinians by 46 points. That is a shift, John, quick math in my head, of over 70 percentage points. But overall, the first time ever in which more Americans sympathize with the Palestinians over the Israelis. Truly a historic shift.
It's a big.
This is a first that I have seen in my lifetime. This is huge. And we got to give credit where credit is due. We got to give credit to independent media. We got to give credit to all the journalists that reported what they saw on the ground in Gaza, because without them, we don't get those images on social media. Journalists that risked their lives, a lot of these journalists were killed by the IDF. Without them, we didn't get those images. We would have never seen those images of those kids. We would have never seen Israel targeting just random children, just walking down the street. Israel shooting dogs and cats. The evil that Israel has become. We would never have seen it had it not been for those journalists on the ground in Gaza. And it woke people up. And that's how we got here. And that's why Aipac is panicking. And that's why they have that new ad. And that's why they're trying to rebrand themselves as America First. Israel is in trouble. Israel did not even win this war. As much as Benjamin Netanyahu was going around telling people we won, no, you didn't, because your mission was to destroy Hamas and get the hostages back. You did not destroy Hamas. Last time I checked, Hamas was entering back in pretty proudly. They're alive and well. So that didn't happen. Israel did not win. They lost. And they lost the media war. They lost the narrative. They lost some conservatives, which is very troubling for them because they depend on the conservative base, in particular, the evangelicals. They lost some of the Charlie Kirk base. I've never seen this before in my life. That's how we get here, folks.
Shift overall, a big shift within the Democratic Party. What about Republicans?
Yeah, it's not just Democrats, though, in which we have seen a real shift of opinion. Even within the Republican ranks, this war has caused real division. What are we talking about? Well, we often talk about by age within the Democratic Party, but what about by age within the Republican ranks? Who Republicans sympathize more with? You see a massive, huge age divide. Those 50 and over, what we see amongst Republicans is they sympathize more with the Israelis by 66 points. But look at the voters under the age of 50. They do sympathize with the Israelis, but just by 25 points. We're talking about a 40-point difference, with the youngest Republicans being far more sympathetic to the Palestinian position than older Republicans are.
That's a huge.
And that's why Israel has hired these pro-Israel, the paid influencers that they're paying $7,000 per post. That's why they hired them. That's why they signed them. When I showed you all the faces of those paid pro-Israel influencers, notice they were all young. They hired them to reel back in the conservative youth to be pro-Israel again. They don't have to do that for the older voters for the most part, according to these numbers, but they got to get that youth back in. That's why they hired those people.
Huge gap right there. Let's just say that.
That is a huge gap, and I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Republican Party adjusts going forward.
All right, the news of the ceasefire deal, the possible return of all Israeli hostages, what's likely to be the reaction to that?
Yeah.
And then they go into the hostage thing, which we covered before. But that is what this is all about, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be fooled. They know that they are in trouble. And so they really do believe that they can convince people by sending out these ads describing themselves as America first. No, you're not. No, you're not. Any other lobby would have to register as a foreign agent. You should have to register as a foreign agent. You're not America first. When they basically tell them themselves and say that we are getting candidates into Congress that are pro-Israel, that's Israel first. That's not America first. We got homeless people here. We got people struggling without health care here. We got people who don't have food to eat here. We got people that can't afford to put a down payment on a home here. We have young people that can't get jobs when they're graduating from college right here. You're fine. I think the big thing that people need to push and continue to say, Israel does not have a constitution, so you can miss me with that whole only democracy in the Middle East. 2, Israel has universal health care, but they sit around Netanyahu and all of them tell you shouldn't have that here because that's socialism and that's a far left idea. Well, since it's so far left, why do they have it? Do you think Benjamin Netanyahu would say, let's get rid of the universal health care that we have? Hell no. They love it. Israel's in trouble. Aipac's in trouble. And they're trying to convince you that they're America first. Again, it's another one of these cases of fool me once. Hopefully people don't fall for this. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.